I just want to get a couple of you here. I just want to maybe give us an introduction so that people in the room knows who they are, like who everybody is, and we kind of like what your expectation, maybe what you've been using, or have you been using analytics, so that I can get a better understanding of what I should talk about a little bit more today. So I actually want to talk, maybe just tell the crowd as well. All right, so I always have to put the title slide in. For business owners here, there's always so many things going on. So with marketing being part of an aspect that they may not be looking at very, very carefully, that's what we're trying to help them with, is to help them with tools, with automation, with data analytics that can help them drive their decision. So who am I? So Juuga Marketing is a company that I founded since 2012. My previous experience is actually quite diverse. I came from an engineering background, technical background from SFU. And once I graduated, I worked for a space company. So we're basically building space software for the space station. And then after 5 years where I've gotten my PhD, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of bored. I'm done. I'm kind of bored. And that's when I started exploring different avenues of interest. And one at that time, that was 2008, there was an opportunity for me to go to China, go to Beijing, and start working for a startup company. Actually, it wasn't even presented as a startup company, but it's more like, you know, just go to Beijing because that's when the Olympics was happening. And I was just going to go there and bum around. I call them bumming around, like networking with other people. And then I eventually met with a couple of people who started up a travel company where I became more of a technical business development. And that's when I started going through investors, going to business clients, and start understanding a little bit more about how to talk to them and what they're looking for and how to market a new product on a shoestring budget. So that's really where that came from. Currently, we are certified in analytics ads. We are also the Facebook marketing partner. We're also a consultant for ActiveCampaign, which is a marketing automation software that I highly recommend people to use. Our goal is to help organizations grow through insights and automation. So with today's topic, where insights from your digital marketing data, this is part of our way to educate our fellow members in the industry and kind of let people think about data in a way that you know, a lot of marketing agencies may not look at, because they're very focused in more creative work, whereas we're more very focused on the data side of things. I want to talk about this slide first. So this is about the customer's journey. You may have heard of it from other people about the marketing funnel, right? So, but the more that we think about it now, it's not really about the funnel. In a lot of ways, your business is really the core of the whole thing, right? If you're a business owner, if you're an organization, there's the core value that you're actually representing, and there's also a lot of you know, the people who are in the company, the product and the services, the branding. That's your business. Your goal is to capture the customers out there, okay? But there's different ways to do it. So a lot of times, people would start thinking about the funnel side is when people start landing in your web page. No, that's your web visitors. They have generated interest. And then they have to go through like a stage of consideration, like comparing prices and comparing to your different product and services. And then when the right offer comes, they'll try to convert. And then once they enjoy it, they would go through a referral. So that's the typical funnel. However, in this model, and this is kind of our philosophy as well, it's more like a circular thing, okay? Because let's say somebody who runs a plumbing business, if my house, you know, the water pipe leaked, I'm not gonna go through the whole interest consideration. I'm just gonna go right through to, let's see where the referral is. Like, let's see what's the best review websites are. And let's make a conversion right away. Or let's call them and let's say, hey, can you come out right now? I need it. So not every business would go through the funnel like this, but your customers definitely would go through some sort of the step and the stages, right? And I want you to keep that in mind, because by understanding the different type of audience, you really, and what they're thinking about, where they're at, the emotions, this is the first step of understanding your business, and it will reflect in your Google Analytics in the means of web traffic, whether you are targeting the right people or not. So what is the importance of analytics? So from what I've heard, some of you have some experience with analytics, and some of you may not. So what analytics is basically a way for you to keep track of your data, your web traffic through time. So for example, if you run a retail business, you may have seasonalities. So with different seasons, it may be better this year versus last year. So that's what you see through time. At the same time, you can understand who they are, your visitors, your leads, and your prospects. Do you know the difference between visitors, leads, and prospects? Interesting, guys. So they may not have any urge to buy anything. So the way that you can actually start counting that person as a lead is when they actually took the action to do something. So a lot of times when you start thinking, when people want to exchange their kind of email address to download like a white paper or to get a coupon for 10% off, that's the lead. Whereas, so people having interest. Prospects, to tell the truth, is really the same thing as the lead. And then the next thing is that what Google Analytics can provide is that it's actually based on the data that you've been collecting. So you're not trying to guess what's happening. With experienced marketers, yes, once they have worked in an industry for a long time, you kind of get a good sense of what numbers needs to come in. However, with changing technologies, and people may not behave as before, and with different competition that's coming in as well. A lot of times what we should base on is really based on our data that we have, and then make the right judgment using those data in terms of helping you with promotion techniques and what channel for you to spend more money on. So how does Google Analytics work? It's a small snippet of code that we call a cookie that we install on the track on your website, which follows you around throughout your website experience. So it records a lot of the actions, a lot of the sources. So what you can get from analytics is that number one is that who are they? Who are the users and what are they doing? What pages are they looking through? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from a social media channel? Are they coming from email? Are they coming from a search engine? Do they behave differently when they start coming from different channels? So these are all the different actions and different insights that you can get out of. Normally at this time, I would tell people to log into an analytic dashboard, but what I can do here is I can share that screen to the demo account, and I can sort of walk through what exactly it is. And let me know if it's too general or if it's too elementary for what you guys are needing, okay? Oops. Okay.
These are the cookies that from time to time Firefox or McAfee ask us, would you like us to get rid of? This is the same cookies you're talking?
Yes and no. I would say if you're using Chrome, it's part of the Google properties, so they're probably not going to ask you. But it's a piece of JavaScript that's being inside the code, and they, how should I say it? Depending on the security level, they may ask you about are you accepting third-party cookies. Okay, but if you're using Chrome, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to block it because that's really the whole business of Google. So this is a kind of like a demo account that we've used with the Google kind of merchandising. So Google actually sell T-shirts on the side, and they use that as an account. And then I'm more than happy to take a look for them. So who here have access to their own business or kind of analytics account? So I'm just kind of see. Nobody? Okay, so I'm just going to go through quickly with you. Oops. What's in there? Okay, okay. Okay, so in here, there are 4 tabs. There are 5 tabs, but let's talk about these 3. Okay, so the audience tab. So with the audience tab, it's really about who these audiences are. So we're talking about what countries are they from, what language do they speak, what devices they're using. Okay, so that's about the audience, about who that website visitor is coming from. It also talks about the number of sessions and the number of pages that people are seeing too. So with session, for example, if you have a desktop computer where you have maybe 3 or 4 windows open. So imagine when you go out and shop for Amazon, okay, shop for a product in Amazon. If you look for a product, you're like, oh, let's read the review. Okay, so you open up a second window and say, let's look for a review. And then you open up another window again and say, oh, let's go back to the product. So all of a sudden, you have multiple windows that's coming out, and each window will create a separate session. Okay, and these sessions would expire within 30 minutes of inactivity. So let's say if you go back to your other work, and then 30 minutes later you start shopping again, right? That become a new session again. So that's kind of how audience would like. You can also see what time of the day and what days of the week that people are visiting, more or less than others. So that's number one thing. With acquisition, that's really where the channel, where people are coming from. So with the channel side of things, it's if you're using social media as a source of, like, let's say, for example, if you advertise on it, on social media, on Facebook, okay, or Instagram, okay, when they click on it, you're going to start seeing the fact that they're coming from Instagram, right? So this way you can start understanding whether people are staying on your page a little bit longer or whether they're buying stuff online when they're coming through, let's say, Instagram, okay? Of course, there's other ways to look at it. When people are searching on Google, that will become more of an organic search versus when people just directly type in the website URL, right? That will be more of a direct channel that's coming in. For some of you who may be running email campaigns, so when you send out an email newsletter for your customers, you can also make it so that it shows up to be email as part of the acquisition. And then with behavior, that's where you're going to see how many pages or what pages works well. If your company runs a blog, you can see whether those content works better than others as well, and how long that they stayed in, and also what will be the flow of the behavior. Okay, so this is kind of the quick overview of what it is. Okay, so I'm going to start with the top 5 tips, and I'm going to jump back and forth so that we can actually see what's happening. So my tip number 1 is make sure that you're set up your dashboard. So dashboard are really, if you go into your account, you can actually start seeing the dashboards here. And they're not set up as well, but these guys did, so that's why I want to show this. For example, these dashboards are really, you can start monitoring how the traffic is like very quickly. So you can see that this one is actually done for the last 30 days. You can also change it as well if you like. And from there, that's when you see like how many desktop users are, how many mobile users are. It's just a quick overview of what your site is doing or how you're doing as well. Most people don't set this up, and that's one of the first tips that I would tell people to do, is to set this up, because you can have a quick glance of what's happening easily. You see that a lot of people from India are actually clicking on to this site, and the US as well. This is where you're going to change the date and the range of date. So you can choose from today, yesterday, last 30 days, or you can create a custom date range. For example, if you want to look for the traffic from Q1 versus Q4 of last year, that's how you can compare it. With a little compare button, you can compare it to the previous month, or you can compare it to the previous year. And this is a good way to start comparing to see how their mobile devices are different through the years. And then all of a sudden, the numbers will get very tricky, complex. Yeah?
Are you okay if we take a snapshot of this?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Will you be supporting the slide over?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will. I'll do that.
Screenshots.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can do that. Not a problem.
As soon as we have a website, site supported by Google, we have access to this analytics.
Yeah, so as soon as you have your website, get your web developer to install a tracking code onto that website.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first thing to do, right? And if you don't know how to do it, just send me a message. I'll help you guys out. Yeah, not a problem. So that's number one. It's just have a kind of like a dashboard set up, and you can have them email to you once a week as well. So that's a great way to keep getting some review, getting some understanding what you have. This is kind of how a dashboard looks like. Okay, number two is really know your audience. So that's what I find is that a business is something that you can control. Like your own business, you can control that. You can control, let's say, what product you have, what branding you may have, right? But your audience, you need to really understand where they're coming from. Are they engaging? And then you can start understanding what they have too, with the age, gender, location, as well as, let's say, what channels are they coming in, and so that you can adjust the tactics. So I can show you a little bit here. Right, so this is kind of when you click into the audience form, this is where you can see. You can sort of see, this is the acquisition form. So when you click on the acquisition form, you can start seeing where they're coming in from. So referral, organic, social, direct, and paid search. So if you start looking at referrals, what referral site means is that, for example, if you had, let's say, if you've run a co-op at a local media, like let's say Daily Hive, right? So the links that comes out of there becomes referrals. And you're gonna start seeing referrals coming in from that website's name. So that's usually how referral works. Organic search, like I said, is when people start typing into the search engine and start seeing the search result that's not paid, right? And then social, it's again, Facebook, Instagram, these type. Direct is when people start typing in to the URL. And a lot of times when people start running a mail out campaign, let's say if you start mailing stuff in the mail, a lot of people, they're not necessarily going in and Google and start searching for it. They may either start entering the URL of your main site, or they may just write, or if you use the QR code of some sort, they may just use a QR code and start going into that site directly. Okay, and then with the paid search, that's when the pay-per-click and also the display ads would come in.
So from this pie chart, I would conclude that the paid search is not a very efficient way of driving traffic to my site. Am I correct?
Yes and no. So you can look at this in one way, but the better question to ask is, first of all, how much are you paying? Are you budgeting for this? Let's say if you're only using 1% of the whole budget, but if you spend more time in working on social media, right?
Okay, so this reflects the hit rate, but not the actual transaction rate.
That's right, it doesn't.
Right.
At the same time, it's about engagement, right? Let's say if this percent of paid ad, or there's 80% of people who purchase, then all of a sudden, that makes a lot of sense, right? So it's a lot more complex than saying that, this is efficient or not, okay?
What is conversions again?
Oh, so that's a good one, because I'm gonna get the next slide on. Thank you for the question. So number 3 is to set up your goals and conversions. So what exactly are goals and conversions? This is the things that I would say 80% of the accounts that I've seen, they're not set up at all. Okay, that part is not set up. So for a lot of businesses, goals and conversions may mean people calling you, people filling up the contact form. Okay, but if you and I would know, a lot of people don't necessarily fill up the contact form. Okay, they would probably just rather pick up the phone and start talking to a person. Okay, and that's when we start defining goals and conversions as something a little bit different now. Okay, so of course we always use the contact form as the first type of conversion. However, there may be some minor kind of milestones that we can hit upon. For example, if people are setting up a trial with your account, okay, if you have a white paper for them to download, right, that's a conversion. We call them the mini wins. right? The mini wins. So it may not be like something that directly transact to you, right? But these are the small things that can help drive a conversion of business, a transaction later, okay? Of course, there's newsletter signups. And then even for our website, we have a little click on, we have a little chatbot. Not a chatbot, but like chat box. So if I actually get an inquiry through there, right, to us, that's conversion, right? Because a lot of people want to have more engagement with things, right? So most people don't usually set it up as goals and conversions, but definitely set it up. Let's see if the Google account has said anything. So goals and conversions are there at the bottom here. If you run an e-commerce site, you can also define the transactions on there as well. So whenever there is a checkout or a shopping cart in there, that value would parse into the e-commerce site. Okay, so the way that these guys actually let's turn off that compare, so we can see this a little bit easier. Okay, so the way that they created a conversion is when let's say people go into the basket or the cart, so that they define that as conversion. They've also defined it to be register success to be another one, or signing up. I'm assuming these are the URL that they use, okay? But every business is quite different, so you need to start understanding where the conversions are and what value do they have. I think these guys actually don't have the value defined for each of these conversions. But when we start setting it up, that's when we start putting a value in there, because without a value, there's nothing really that we can track. Any questions? Okay, we good? Okay, tip number 4. Okay, user behavior. So under behavior, there's something called behavior flow. Okay, this is one of the most overlooked kind of item that people would check. A lot of people would check out the site content and see what sites are coming in, but this is more of the interactivity of how people engage with your website. So do people come into your home page, and then where do they go after? So the green of the stage, this is the number of interactions that there are, right? And then with the red, that's when the people who are dropping off. And you can actually start tracking. Let's say, for example, if eventually they go into a store page, you can go, let's see who comes in from. You can actually highlight the traffic that's coming from there. So you can see where they're coming from a starting page perspective, and then you can start seeing kind of how they're thinking. For a lot of e-commerce companies, what I find is that when people look at the product, look at the store, what they would do next is they start looking at your shipping policy, at your frequently asked questions. What is your refund policy, right? Before they actually start making the purchase. So if we have, a lot of times when we start marketing, we want to drive people to the FAQ page as well as the second page. So that's where web design kind of intersect with what we do as well, is to help people to get more engagement. And you can also see pretty interesting things too in here. I know this is a little bit more intense, but you can actually segment the people who are following through. Let's say you can compare the people who made the purchase versus people who are just generally browsing. And you can see how the interaction is a little bit different as well.
What is the difference between a landing page and a starting page?
It's the same thing.
Oh, because there were two titles on it.
Yeah, let's see. So in this context, the starting page just means that it's the first page that people had been on, right? When we start using a landing page, a lot of times people come in from a different campaign. Let's say if you advertise on Facebook, right? Let's say if you have, I'm going to use Gongcha, gongcha.com/Lunar New Year promotion. So you're going to have that as the landing page, right? That becomes your first page. And then afterwards, they may look for location. And then afterwards, they may look for, the product drink prices, for example, right? So that would be the context that we're talking about. Landing pages. So a lot of companies have multiple landing pages, each for their own campaign, right? That would tailor to what their advertisement campaign was for. So that's kind of how, yeah, that's the difference. Good question. Okay, my last tip is to make sure that you check it consistently. Things change, data changes, and make sure that you have a way to review it at least once a month so that you can learn about how your business is doing, how your marketing is working or not working, right, and make the changes. And that's it. So today's education moment is more of a general overview of what we kind of provide and help people. But really the more in-depth, more way to help is actually start setting up something called a jam session. So the jam session is something what we call Juuga actionable marketing session. It's more of a 90-minute one-to-one session that we can actually sit through with you and your team, just by understanding not just analytics, but also start understanding what your marketing campaign has been doing, your landing page, more of an overview of how your marketing is doing, and are they being measured right? So that's kind of what we have to offer. So these are some of our past clients that we work with. We work with like B2B businesses, B2C businesses. Like I said, we've been around for the last 7 years, so we've seen a wide range of companies that may have issues and that they don't know how to do it, kind of thing. We're going to help. And one more thing, I do have a review. If you can give me some feedback, that would be highly appreciated. You can use the QR code in there just by scanning on your phone, or you can just type in that link as well as the same thing that will come in. But yeah, but this time I'd like to answer any questions too, if you like. Yeah, thanks.
So for us, we're strictly focused on being Instagram.
Yeah.
And in terms of website, like
Yeah.
Regards to data analytics.
Yeah.
We don't really have too much emphasis on the website.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because Facebook owns Instagram at this time.